Abdominal wall and umbilicus. Diseases of the umbilicus. 1. Inflammations. Omphallitis, umbilical granuloma, pilonidal sinus. 2. Fistulas. A. Fecal, patent vitellointestinal duct, neoplastic ulceration, tuberculosis of peritoneum. B. Urinary, patent urachus. 3. Neoplasms. 3/4. Benign, adenoma, raspberry tumor, endometrioma. 3/4. Malignant, primary, rare. Secondary carcinoma, Sister Joseph's nodule through lymphatics of the round ligament, primary being in the stomach, colon, ovary, uterus, breast, often blood spread. 4. Umbilical hernias. 5. Umbilical calculus, umbilith. Omphallitis. It is infection and inflammation of umbilicus. It is usually seen in newborn babies. Umbilical cord which is severed during birth contains bacteria like Staphylococci, 50%, Streptococci, E. coli, Clostridium tetani, occasionally. Proper aseptic technique, by staff. Nurses and doctors, and cleaning of umbilical cord with chlorhexidine solution will reduce the umbilical infection. Causes: poor asepsis and umbilical hygiene during delivery and after birth. Bacteria: Staphylococci, Streptococci, gram-negative organisms, Clostridium tetani causing neonatal tetanus. Features: infection may spread along the hypogastric vessels into the abdominal wall causing abdominal wall abscess. Infection may spread into the peritoneum causing peritonitis. In severe cases, septicemia can occur. Umbilical granuloma can occur once infection gets localized. Purulent discharge with red, swollen umbilicus. Investigations: culture study of discharge, USG abdomen. Treatment: antibiotics. Drainage of the abscess if present. Aseptic precautions while ligating the cord will prevent the chances of umbilical sepsis. Excessive granulation tissue must be removed surgically or by cautery, commonly, using trichloroacetic acid or silver nitrate or copper sulfate in small quantity. B. Complications: XX abdominal wall abscess, XX extensive abdominal wall ulceration and skin and subcutaneous gangrene formation. XX septicemia via umbilical vein, XX peritonitis carries poor prognosis, XX umbilical granuloma, umbilical hernia, XX neonatal tetanus, XX portal vein thrombosis and portal hypertension, XX neonatal jaundice due to cholangitis, 6 weeks after childbirth due to spread of infection into liver across umbilical vein. Umbilical granuloma. It is due to chronic infection of the umbilical cicatrix, causing the granulation tissue to pout, leading to the formation of umbilical granuloma. It occurs in any age group, but common in infants and children. Presents as umbilical discharge with tender, red, swelling protruding from the umbilicus which bleeds on touch. It has to be differentiated from the anomalies of vitellointestinal duct. It also mimics umbilical adenoma. Treatment: 3/4. Antibiotics, application of silver nitrate and dry dressings. 3/4. Occasionally might require excision of granuloma or umbilectomy, rarely. Anomalies of vitellointestinal duct. During development of fetus, midgut communicates with yolk sac through vitellointestinal or omphalocentaric duct. This duct slowly narrows during the development of abdominal wall to lie within the cord. Later this communication obliterates to free intestine from yolk sac. Any defect in obliteration causes different anomalies. Anomalies are: 1. May remain completely patent, forming an intestinal fistula. 2. Only a small portion near the umbilicus may remain patent, forming discharging umbilical sinus. Often the mucosa of this retained portion, epithelial lining, protrudes or everts to form umbilical adenoma. 3. Duct is closed on either side, but the intervening portion may remain as an intra-abdominal cyst. 4. Vitellointestinal duct which is obliterated can retain as a band which may be a seat for intestinal obstruction, volvulus, internal herniation. 5. Intestinal end may remain patent forming Meckel's diverticulum, which may be attached to umbilicus with a fibrous band. Meckel's diverticulum itself can cause diverticulitis, obstruction. Anomalies of vitellointestinal duct: XX intestinal fistula, XX umbilical sinus, XX umbilical adenoma, XX intra-abdominal cyst, XX Meckel's diverticulum, XX intra-abdominal band. Investigations: 3/4 fistulogram, ultrasound abdomen, radioisotope study. 3/4 If obstruction is present, plain X-ray abdomen in erect posture is useful to visualize the multiple air fluid levels. Treatment: excision of vitellointestinal duct is done, along with resection of bowel segment containing Meckel's diverticulum. Umbilical sinus. Causes: persistent vitellointestinal tract partially towards umbilical side, persistent urachus. Tuberculosis, umbilical infection. Umbilith, desquamated epithelium of umbilicus gets collected and inspissated in the umbilical recess causing black, brown-colored stone, umbilical stone. It causes recurrent umbilical infection and sinus. Pilonidal sinus of the umbilicus. Malignancy in the urachus. Clinical features: pain, swelling, discharge and tenderness in the umbilicus. Features of the specific causes. Investigations: study of the discharge culture and sensitivity, cytology for malignant cells, AFB study. Inocygram, chest X-ray, ESR. Ultrasound abdomen, CT abdomen. Treatment: treat the cause, antibiotics. Antitubercular drugs in case of tuberculosis, umbilectomy. Umbilical adenoma, raspberry tumor. It is commonly seen in infants. It is due to partially obliterated vitellointestinal duct towards umbilical end, causing prolapse of the mucosa giving rise to umbilical adenoma, also called as raspberry tumor. It protrudes out as a red swelling, which is moist with mucus and tends to bleed on touch. It often gets infected, discharging pus through the umbilicus. Histologically, it consists of columnar epithelium rich in goblet cells. Differential diagnosis: umbilical granuloma. Treatment: if the tumor is pedunculated, a firm ligature is tied round it, so that tumor will fall off in few days. If it reappears, umbilectomy is done. Sometimes there may be a patent vitellointestinal duct or a Meckel's diverticulum, which may require resection along with the bowel segment. Note: umbilical adenoma does not disappear after silver nitrate application. Umbilical fistula causes: patent vitellointestinal duct, patent urachus, postsurgical, tuberculosis. Clinical features: fecal discharge or urinary discharge, mucoid discharge. Recurrent infection. Pain, tenderness and excoriation in and around the umbilicus. Fistulogram, CT fistulogram. Discharge study, CS, AFB in cytology. Ultrasound abdomen. Treatment: fistulectomy, along with resection of bowel segment, patent vitellointestinal tract, and anastomosis of the bowel. Fistulectomy and excision of vitelline duct up to the antimesenteric surface of the ileum. Opening in the ileum is closed transversely using vicryl or silk sutures. Patent URACHUS. Allantoic duct, stalk which is remnant of cranial part of ventral urogenital sinus forms urachus. It gets fibrosed and forms median umbilical ligament. When urachus is patent it can form patent urachus, urachal fistula, between umbilicus and dome of the urinary bladder. It is persistent median umbilical ligament. Urachal sinus if only umbilical side of the urachus is patent. Urachal cyst if only middle portion of the urachus is patent with lining and fluid content. Urachal diverticulum when bladder side of the urachus is patent. Features: persistent discharge from the umbilicus often stained with urine, if it is fistular. Recurrent infection and bleeding. Pain in the umbilicus and below. Recurrent urinary infection. Investigations. Fistulogram to see the extent. US abdomen. Discharge analysis and culture. Urine analysis. Treatment. Surgical excision of the tract. Often umbilical excision may be required. Note: malignancy, adenocarcinoma, or tuberculosis can occur in patent urachus. Burst abdomen, abdominal wound dehiscence, acute wound failure. It is disruption of a laparotomy wound, occurring usually between 5th and 8th postoperative day. Usually sutures opposing the deep layers, i.e. peritoneum and rectus sheath tear through, causing burst abdomen, acute wound failure. It is a mechanical wound failure due to various factors causing separation of the closed abdominal wound, often with evisceration of the contents. There is postoperative separation of the abdominal musculoponeurotic layers. It is 2% common. Common in males. Mortality is more than 30%. Other than technical errors, deep wound infection causes localized separation of the wound, which in addition to raised intra-abdominal pressure leads to wound dehiscence. Vertical incision is more prone for dehiscence than transverse, as vertical incision cuts across the aponeurosis, and when abdominal wall contracts, it creates laterally directed tension on vertical closure. Mass closure is better than layer-by-layer closure. Suturing of the peritoneum is not vital in wound failure. It is the fascial closure which decides the strength. Non-absorbable monofilament suture material is used for the closure, even though evidence says that there is no difference between synthetic absorbable like polyglactic acid and non-absorbable monofilament suture. Non-absorbable suture causes prolonged wound pain but is preferred in risk category patients. Suture bite interval should be 1 cm but not more. Suture length and wound length ratio should be 4, 1 or more but not less. Clinical features: 2%. A sudden feeling of giving way from the wound, on 5th to 8th postoperative day, often precipitated by bouts of severe cough. Factors related to burst abdomen: XX choice of suture materials used. XX method of closure. Tension-free suturing is most important. XX upper midline and vertical wounds are more likely to disrupt than transverse. XX surgical wounds of peritonitis, acute abdomen, major surgeries like pancreatic, hepatic, gastric, surgeries for malignancies have a high incidence of disruption. XX severe cough, vomiting and distension in postoperative period. XX poor general condition of the patient, anemia, jaundice, hypoproteinemia, obesity, uremia and diabetes mellitus, old age, steroids, radiation, malignancy, chemotherapy. XX ascites, previous laparotomies, duration of surgery greater than 150 minutes are other risk factors. Pinkish serosanguineous discharge, salmon-colored large quantity of fluid from the wound. Fig. 17. Often omentum or coils of intestine are forced out of the wound. Clinically, burst abdomen can be diagnosed without fail. Probing of the wound using gloved finger appreciates dehiscence of musculoponeurotic layer. Treatment: nasogastric aspiration, IV fluids, emergency surgery, i.e. under anesthesia, wound is opened up properly. Coils of intestines are replaced into the abdominal cavity. Thorough wash is given. Wound is closed by all layer sutures, passing a non-absorbable suture material through the red rubber or plastic collar, tension sutures, which is kept for 14 days. Modified Smith-Jones closure mainly used to prevent burst abdomen. It is interrupted. Specialized suture used in the closure of abdomen is single layer excluding the skin. Linear alber is held with Alice forceps. Number 1 polyethylene or PDS suture material is used. First bite on one side taken 3 cm away, width from the margin from outside to inside. It is then passed through the corresponding opposite edge with 3 cm width from inside to outside. Later again one small loop of 5 mm width from the edges of each side of the wound from first bite side to second bite side is taken. Suture is knotted on the free edge of the first bite side. Full thickness bite holds the suture and maintains the tension in the wound. Smaller loop keeps the linear alber in a post place. Large curved Ferguson needle is better to place these sutures. Each suture is placed at 2 cm interval. This is the type of suturing used at present in acute abdominal conditions instead of the retention sutures. Here also it is better to place all sutures under proper vision and knotting is done at the end. At least 4 knots should be placed. Excessive tension should be avoided. In upper abdomen peritoneum need not be included in the bite, but in lower abdomen as linear alber is indistinct, peritoneum is included in this. Subcutaneous drain with loose skin sutures are preferred. In severe infection, skin wound is left open and closed as secondary suturing after 14 days. Problem with immediate closure with forced attempt may cause abdominal compartment syndrome. Antibiotics and IV fluids are continued. Wound usually heals well without much second dehiscence. Late problem may be development of incisional hernia. Biological dressings, wound vacuum systems are newer modalities used. Newer present methods of managing the burst abdomen. If the fascial edges are necrotic, proper debridement of the wound edges is done. One should not attempt forcible wound closure as it will increase intra-abdominal pressure further and redehiscence occurs. When fascia is strong and intact, primary closure can be done. Wound and contents are covered with absorbable mesh or biological prosthesis like decellularized porcine submucosal and dermis or human cadaveric dermis. They prevent bowel desiccation, bacterial infection. Wound vacuum system using open cell foam, semi-occlusive drape over the foam and suction apparatus. It provides immediate coverage, minimizes heat loss. By negative pressure it clears interstitial fluid, reduces the bowel edema and contamination, increases wound blood flow and promotes wound healing. Once wound granulates, wound is closed with primary closure or with skin graft or flaps depending on the size of the wound. Component separation technique may allow primary fascial closure. Management of burst abdomen. XX primary deep fascial closure, deep tension, retention sutures. XX delayed closure with initial mesh wrap or pack, opposite or Bogota bag. XX topical negative, vacuum, pressure closure. XX delayed skin closure or skin graft over the dehiscence wound once it granulates well. XX component separation technique with primary fascial closure. XX placing drain in subcutaneous plane. XX suitable antibiotic therapy. Fluid management. XX prevention of abdominal compartment syndrome, hematoma or intra-abdominal abscess formation or sepsis. XX blood or blood product transfusion, nutrition supplementation. Abdominal wall tumors. They are not uncommon but often present late as they are usually asymptomatic. Common tumors are lipoma, fibroma, neurofibroma, and fibromatosis. Malignant tumors occasionally when occurs, are either from skin or soft tissues. They may be desmoid tumor, soft tissue sarcoma like fibrosarcoma, dermatofibrosarcoma, liposarcoma, umbilical secondaries, Sister Joseph Mary tumor. Presents usually as painless progressive swelling. Often ulceration can occur. Attaining large size is also known. It is dull to purchase. On contracting the abdominal wall muscles, swelling becomes prominent and less mobile. Differential diagnoses are abdominal wall abscess, hematoma, intra-abdominal tumors adherent to abdominal wall. US abdomen, CT abdomen is diagnostic. Biopsy is essential. Treatment is wide excision with adequate clearance with removal of adjacent skin and musculopolyneurotic layer. Desmoid tumor. Desmo means band, tendon in Greek. It is a tumor arising from the musculopolyneurotic layer of abdomen, below the level of the umbilicus. It is an encapsulated, hard, fibroma, presently classified under aggressive fibromatosis. 80% of cases occur in women, commonly after deliveries. It is common over old abdominal operation scars. Lower abdomen may be due to old hematomas. Oral contraceptive, OCP, use is more commonly associated with desmoid. It is often associated with the familial polyposis colon, FAP osteomas, odentum's epidermal cysts, Gardner syndrome. Desmoid tumor is 1000 times more common in FAP. It is a slow-growing tumor involving muscle and soft tissue of the abdominal wall, locally spreading, often undergoes myxomatous changes. Unlike fibromas, it never turns into sarcoma. It is often classified as superficial and deep. It is also classified as abdominal, common in females, extra-abdominal, common in males, common in back, head, scars, chest wall, neck, and peripheral. Histologically it contains multinucleated plasmodial giant cells. B. Gardner syndrome. XX familial polyposis colon XX osteomas. Odentum's XX epidermal cyst, 20%. Management of Fig. 17.16a. The possible association of Gardner syndrome is looked for in barium enema. X-ray, US abdomen are done. MRI is useful. Biopsy is done to confirm the diagnosis. Wide excision of the tumor with a margin of 2.5 cm is done along with placement of a mesh to the abdominal defect. It is moderately radiosensitive. Drugs like sulindac and tamoxifen are also used. Chemotherapeutic agents like doxorubicin, actinomycin D, dacarbazine, carboplatin are used but with significant toxicity. Recurrence rate is high, 20 to 40%. Examples, omphalocele, it is the failure of all or a part of the gut to return to the coelomic cavity during early fetal life, as coelomic cavity has not developed properly. Sac covering the content is very thin, consists of 3 layers, outer amniotic membrane, middle Wharton's jelly and inner peritoneal layer. Sac may get ruptured during birth. Omphalocele is often associated with congenital anomalies of cardiac and genitourinary system, 70%. Vitellointestinal anomaly, diaphragmatic hernia, malrotation can coexist. Examples, macroglossia, gigantism, EMG, can coexist in 2/3 of such babies, is called as Beckwith-Wiedemann syndrome. Chromosomal trisomies, 13, 15, 18 and 21, bladder exstrophy, imperforate anus, sacral vertebral anomaly, meningomyelocele. Abdominal wall defect can be confirmed in utero by US. Amniocentesis and chromosomal analysis can be done. This will allow deciding the possible need for termination of pregnancy or management plan immediately after delivery. Abdominal wall muscle is normally developed but peritoneal layer is hypoplastic. Types. 2 types. T differences between exomphalous minor and exomphalous major. Exomphalous minor. Exomphalous major. Small sac. Large sac. Defect less than 5 cm. Defect greater than 5 cm. Content is small bowel only liver, small and large bowel. Primary closure is possible. Primary closure is not possible. Good prognosis, poor prognosis. Exomphalous minor. Here the sac is small and umbilical cord is attached to the summit, with small bowel as the content. Treatment for exomphalous minor is relatively easier. The sac has to be twisted so as to reduce the content to the peritoneal cavity. Through the umbilical defect in the abdomen is strapped. Later the defect is closed. Defect is less than 5 cm. B. Exomphalous major. A large defect, greater than 5 cm is present with contents lying completely outside. Umbilical cord is attached to the inferior aspect of the sac. Contents being small bowel, large bowel and liver. Often the sac ruptures during delivery, which in turn leads to severe infection and high mortality. Here immediate surgery, within hours, is the only hope to save the child. As there is hardly any properly developed abdominal cavity, it is not possible to reduce the contents to the peritoneal cavity. So initially, relaxing incisions are placed over the lateral abdominal wall and also the subcutaneous layer has to be undermined so as to accommodate whatever possible contents in the cavity. The contents are not to be forced into the cavity, which in turn may cause intestinal obstruction, respiratory distress, venous engorgement. Often a sterile polythene bag, silastic silo, can be wrapped over the content carefully. Gradual twisting of the bag over the summit at regular intervals over 2 to 3 weeks will stimulate the peritoneal cavity to increase in capacity and eventually the contents get reduced. Later the defect is closed properly. Antibiotics, IV fluids, nutritional support are required during this period. Mortality is higher in spite of all these, due to sepsis, dehydration, hypothermia and respiratory failure. Late ventral hernia should be corrected at later period. Management of exomphalous XX vitamin K injection, TPN-XX sepsis control with antibiotics XX evaluation for other anomalies XX in exomphalous major when sac is intact application of 0.5% mercurochrome with 65% alcohol to promote granulation tissue formation. XX prevention of aspiration XX prevention of hypothermia XX wrapping the content with sterile bag, wrapper XX correction of dehydration XX definitive surgical procedures like release incisions and closure. Gastroschisis, belly cleft, it is a defect of the anterior abdominal wall just lateral to the umbilicus. It is common in premature babies. It is associated with defect in the involution of second umbilical vein. It is common in mothers younger than 20 years, those who take aspirin, ibuprofen, pseudoephedrine during first trimester and who regularly smoke and take alcohol. Umbilicus is normal. The defect is almost always to the right of an intact umbilical cord. Evisceration of the bowel occurs through the defect during intrauterine life. There is no peritoneal sac and the irritating effect of amniotic fluid causes chemical peritonitis with formation of a thick, edematous membrane. Non-rotation and intestinal atresia are common associations, 15%. Cardiac anomaly is not common as in omphalocele. After delivery, these infants are more prone for fluid loss, hypothermia, hypovolemia, sepsis, metabolic acidosis. Necrotizing enterocolitis is also common in such infants, 20%. They are also more prone for paralytic ileus. Treatment B. General. XX fluid management, XXTP and XX antibiotics. XXRT aspiration, XX calorie supplement. Specific. Later under GA, intestines are pushed into the abdomen through the defect and defect is closed with interrupted non-absorbable sutures. Often when bowel is not accommodating in the abdominal cavity, bowel is initially placed in sterile silastic silo bag. In later period, it is pushed into the abdomen gradually. Often a part of the bowel may not be viable, then resection and anastomosis has to be done. Axampelose 1. Defect through umbilicus. Gastroschisis. Defect lateral to umbilicus. Covered by sac which has 3 layers. No peritoneal sac. Associated with anomalies. Not associated, except malrotation. With proper surgery, nutrition, resuscitation, survival rate is 90%, which is better than omphalocele. Prolonged postoperative ileus is the common problem in these patients. Rectus sheath hematoma. Rectus abdominis muscle is supplied by superior and inferior epigastric arteries. Injury to one of these vessels will cause bleeding and hematoma in rectus sheath. Commonly it is due to bleeding from inferior epigastric artery in the lower abdomen. Causes: XX trauma, surgery, XX spontaneous hematoma, typhoid fever, XX blood dyscrasias, hemophilia, anticoagulant therapy, XX severe straining in exercises, XX tetanus and other convulsions, XX patients on anticoagulants, XX puerperium. Features: common in females, sudden onset of swelling in lower abdomen, which is tender, warm, firm on one side of the abdomen. Swelling does not cross the midline. Bluish discoloration over the swelling. US and aspiration confirms the diagnosis. Should be differentiated from other masses and parietal hernias. Coagulation profile is a must. CT scan abdomen is often needed. Treatment: usually conservative with analgesics and antibiotics. Angiographic embolization of inferior epigastric artery. Occasionally requires drainage of hematoma and ligation of inferior epigastric artery. Abdominal wall abscess. Causes: XX infected hematoma, XX umbilical sepsis spreading into the abdominal layers causing the abscess. XX blood spread from distant focus. Features: tender, soft, firm swelling which is well localized, adherent to skin and abdominal muscles underneath and not mobile. Aspiration will show pus. Should be ruled out from intra-abdominal mass, cold abscess, parietal hernia. Ultrasound and needle aspiration is confirmative. Treatment: it is antibiotics and drainage under general anesthesia. Melanese progressive synergistic bacterial gangrene of abdominal wall. It is due to infection by microaerophilic streptococci, staphylococci and other anaerobes of the postoperative abdominal or thoracic wounds. It is common in HIV, diabetic and immunosuppressed people. Sudden pain, redness, blackening and gangrene of the skin of the abdomen with abdominal wall necrosis. Toxicity: septicemia, renal failure can occur. Treatment: Antibiotics like penicillins and metronidazole, excision of necrotic and gangrenous tissue until it bleeds. Blood transfusion, nutrition supplement. Maintaining adequate urine output. Management of tauchemia, hyperbaric oxygen and critical care. Skin grafting and coverage, when it granulates well. Divarication OFRECTI, diastasis RECTI. It is thinning of linea alba in midline in epigastrium. Abdominal wall protrudes in midline with prominent divaricated edges of both recti. Transversalis fascia remains intact and hence hernia will not be present, so impulse on coughing will be absent. Diastasis will become prominent on lifting the head from the bed. It does not require any treatment.